What happens if you stare into your own eyes for 5 minutes? Imagine standing before a mirror and letting your gaze meet itself, not as a quick glance, not as a selfie pose, but as a sustained, gentle attention focused on the living, moving center of your face. For some people, this is ordinary. For others, it becomes strange, intimate, clarifying, or unsettling. If you are curious and you are willing to try safely, what follows is an invitation. A simple experiment framed by an ancient idea that memory of a deeper origin can be awakened by attention. Before you begin, a quick safety note. Do this seated, in a stable place where if you feel dizzy or overwhelmed, you can lean back or stand up. Stop immediately if you feel faint, nauseated, or emotionally distressed. If you have a history of seizures, vertigo, or severe anxiety, consult a medical professional rather than attempting this exercise. This is an attentional practice, not a therapy or a religious rite with guaranteed results. Proceed gently. Set yourself in front of a mirror, close enough to see the texture and color of your irises, but not so close that you feel strained. Allow your shoulders to soften. Take 2 slow breaths. Inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth, letting the jaw unclench and the forehead smooth. There is nothing to prove. There is only the experiment. There is a historical lens you can carry with you as you try this, not as dogma, but as a way to name some experiences you might have. In the mid-20th century, a cache of non-canonical texts was discovered in Nag Hammadi. Among them are writings like the Gospel of Philip. These are not part of the mainstream biblical canon. They are alternate early Christian writings that some readers take as poetic, mythical, or instructive in different ways. In certain Gnostic currents, the idea appears that a central divine source, the monad, the one, fractured or dispersed aspects of itself into material beings. A secondary figure, often called the demiurge, is described as a blind or imperfect creator who, along with intermediary intelligences sometimes named archontes, obscures human remembrance of that original source. When I refer to those ideas here, understand I am offering one interpretive map among many for what attention can reveal inside the body and mind. If monad sounds abstract, think of it simply as the notion of an original, unified source of consciousness. The demiurge is a metaphor for the structures, mental patterns, cultural authorities, internal critics, that obscure direct, felt recognition of that source. The archontes are a poetic way to name the little voices and sabotaging thoughts that rise up when something inside you is trying to shift. You can keep this language as a poetic frame, or you can ignore it. Either way, the mirror exercise can stand alone as a focused attention practice. Now, if you are ready, we will move through 3 phases that gently deepen your gaze. Each phase is short, precise, and safety-minded. Stay seated. Breathe. Remember, nothing must happen. You are free to stop at any time. Phase 1. Prepare. Sit in front of the mirror, adjust your position so your face and eyes feel comfortable. Release your shoulders, soften your mouth. Take 2 more slow, conscious breaths. Bring your attention not to ideas, but to sensations. How the breath moves your ribs, the weight of your feet on the floor, the quiet rhythm behind your eyes. When you feel settled, lift your gaze and meet your reflection's eyes. Let that first contact be neutral, curious, like looking at an old friend you haven't seen in years. Phase 2. The soft gaze. For the next couple of minutes, hold a light, steady gaze into your own eyes. You are not trying to stare aggressively. This is a soft, permeable attention. Notice the surface details, the exact hue of your irises, the tiny flecks, the way the pupil reacts to light, the skin around your eyes. Watch the small micro-movements of your eyelids and the slight tremor of expression that lives in every face. Many people report that at this point the mirror seems to breathe with them, or that the edges of their reflection begin to blur into a halo. You might notice the appearance of brief after-images, tiny sparkles, or a widening of peripheral awareness. Notice these without insisting on meaning. By the second minute, keep watching. If a thought appears, this is silly. What if nothing happens? How long have I been doing this? Observe it as you would a bird flying across the sky. Note it, but do not follow it. These intrusive, dismissive thoughts are common and predictable. Call them what you will: resistance, habit, the voice of the demiurge, or simply the brain protecting you from novelty. They usually arrive precisely because something in you is moving. Do not engage. Return your gaze to your eyes. Phase 3. The deeper gaze. Allow your attention to go a degree deeper now, not harder. Let your stare be sustained and receptive. In this deeper phase, people often notice somatic shifts: a subtle warmth at the center of the chest, a feeling at the base of the skull, or a new clarity at the edges of perception. Visual phenomena may intensify: faces morphing, colors deepening, light that seems to flicker behind the eyes. Emotions may arise: surprising tenderness, sudden grief, or a quiet, steady calm. All of these are acceptable reactions. If anything feels overwhelming, soften the gaze and breathe until you feel grounded again. You will also likely encounter a particular kind of mental voice that speaks to undermine the experience. You're imagining this. This is self-deception, or even sudden skepticism about your own sanity. This is normal. Describe it as interference rather than truth. The mind is an expert at producing objections when it feels that its habitual narrative is being challenged by direct sensation. As you notice physical sensations and mental resistance, you can map them metaphorically onto a symbolic set of 3 marks, sometimes referenced in esoteric literature. These marks are not medical facts. They are poetic ways to interpret what you might feel. Think of them as metaphorical coordinates of attention, not anatomical proof. The first mark, described in some texts as relating to origin, is often experienced as a subtle resonance at the base of the skull or a felt anchoring behind the neck. During the deeper gaze, this may feel like a gentle rooting, a sense that your head is being held from within. If you feel a small settling or a wave that seems to begin behind the eyes and travel down the spine, notice it as an internal echo of grounding. Nothing diagnostic, only a felt quality of steadiness. The second mark, connected to perception, corresponds metaphorically to your edges. The widening of peripheral vision, a sense of seeing not just the face, but the space around it, or a clarity that seems to widen like a lens. During the soft gaze, you may experience moments when the visual field feels expanded, as if something in your perceptual apparatus loosens and allows more light in. This can be accompanied by a sense of attention radiating outward from the eyes toward the hands, the breath, the room. The third mark, associated with command or voice, often shows up as warmth or movement in the chest, throat, or center of the sternum, and can be felt when you speak. When you reach the end of the gaze, some people report a constriction that opens into a kind of warmth, a felt readiness to speak from a place that feels simpler or truer than usual. Again, these are interpretive metaphors, not medical claims. Treat them as descriptive language for subjective sensations you may notice. If you do experience any of these sensations, a natural question follows. What do they mean? One way to think about it is this. Focused attention can change the balance between reflexive thought and embodied sensation. Habitual skepticism is part of the mind's economy. It keeps things predictable. When attention lingers in the eyes, an organ that mediates both perception and social recognition, the brain's usual narratives can momentarily quiet, leaving space for older, pre-linguistic memories or visceral feelings to surface. For those who approach these sensations through the Gnostic frame, such moments are called anamnesis, a remembering of origin. For others, the same experiences might be described as shifts in neurophysiology, emotional processing, or psychological insight. Both descriptions can coexist without needing to exclude one another. Expect a range of outcomes. Some people report a vivid sense of recognition, a quiet certainty that they are connected to something larger or deeper. Others notice only very subtle changes, a relaxation of the face, a different taste in the mouth, a tear that appears unexpectedly. Many experience nothing dramatic at all, and that is a valid result too. What matters is noticing, not proving. If you feel that the experience is meaningful, you may close the practice with a brief spoken recognition. Make this a voluntary, simple phrase. Speak softly and steadily, from the chest if you can. Suitable phrases are short and grounded. You might say aloud, "I recognize my origin," or "I open to inner perception," or "I speak from myself." These statements are not commands to the universe. They are declarations you make into your own body and voice, an opportunity to embody what you noticed. You can repeat the phrase once more if it feels resonant, and then breathe and rest. A word on resistance one more time. If the voice returns, mocking, fearful, dismissive, treat it with curiosity. Ask yourself silently what the voice wants you to believe. Often it is seeking to preserve a sense of safety. Naming the interference, "This is the mind trying to protect me," can neutralize its power and allow the felt sensations to remain present. Do not force insight. Genuine change often arrives slowly, in small increments that accumulate. If you feel moved to share, there is a gentle way to contribute to the sense of community this experiment can foster. If, after trying the practice, you want to leave a comment, choose one word that captures your experience. Recognition, stillness, confusion, nothing, warmth. One word anchors a moment without over-interpreting it, and seeing a stream of single words from others creates a quiet catalog of human responses that can be oddly consoling. You are not required to adopt any particular interpretive frame. Your one word is simply a witness. Some may wonder why a simple mirror could trigger such reactions. There are practical reasons rooted in psychology and physiology. The human face is socially central to identity. Prolonged eye contact in social settings is rare, and therefore carries a charged intimacy. The neural circuits that process faces are linked to memory and emotion. In addition, shifting attention away from habitual inner chatter toward sustained sensory contact can reveal what is normally filtered out. Overlaying these facts with mythopoetic language, terms like monad, demiurge, archontes, provides a symbolic vocabulary for interpreting the texture of the experience if that resonates with you. Use whichever language helps you make sense of what arises, but do not let symbolic maps harden into claims of objective proof. Throughout history, small communities of seekers have used comparable attention practices to test their inner life and to gather testimony. The Nag Hammadi texts, for example, offered metaphors and parables suggesting that embedded within ordinary bodies and minds are traces of a larger source. Those writings were marginalized by mainstream institutions in part because they offered an alternate way of describing spiritual truth. Saying that, I do not mean to present those texts as universally authoritative. They are historically interesting and psychologically potent for many, but they are part of a varied, contested landscape of religious writing. If you try this practice and feel nothing, that is a valid outcome. No practice obligates a dramatic result. Often, the value is cumulative. Repeated, gentle attention to the self builds a capacity to notice. If you feel something subtle, your next session may deepens it. If you feel intense emotion, consider journaling what came up or speaking with a trusted friend or practitioner to integrate the material. Here is a compact version of the entire sequence you can keep in mind, in case you want to try this again. Find a comfortable seat before a mirror. Take 2 slow breaths. Soften your body. Meet your eyes with a gentle, steady gaze. Begin with a neutral observation, surface details, and the rhythm of the breath. Allow the gaze to deepen. Notice peripheral widening, visual flickers, warmth in the chest, or a settling at the base of the skull. If intrusive thoughts arise, name them and return to sensation. When you feel ready, speak a short phrase of recognition aloud. Rest. For those who move toward a more communal expression, if you want, say the short declaration with me now, aloud or silently, in whatever words feel true. You might choose one of these, or create your own. I recognize my origin. I open to inner perception. I speak from within. Speak once, and if it resonates, speak it one more time. Then place your hand over your heart, gently, without pressing, and feel what has shifted, however small. Remember that any sense of awakening is personal and partial. It does not automatically make you immune to confusion or pain. It is a glimpse, a small clearing in a dense forest. Honor it by staying compassionate toward yourself and others. If this experiment landed for you in any way, if it stirred something, even a whisper, please do one small thing. Leave a single word in the comments that best describes your experience. That one word becomes part of a quiet archive of shared attention, a reminder that this is not only an intellectual curiosity, but a practice that others are trying as well. If you want more guided activations like this, short, safe experiments that combine attentional practice, poetic framing, and gentle community witness, subscribe and you'll be invited into future sessions. We will continue to explore practices that prioritize safety, clarity, and collective testimony without promising guarantees. Thank you for being willing to look. May whatever you found, whether a tremor, a tear, a silence, or nothing at all, be interpreted with kindness. The mirror is only a tool. The true recognition, if it comes, arrives slowly and softly inside your life.